Hello. How you doing, Linda?
I am fabulous. How are you, Aubrey?
I'm great. I can't believe we're on our last session of the Barn Quilt Sew Along, which is pretty exciting. And it's been fun seeing people are already kind of posting pictures, especially of this one with the Y seams. I've seen a lot of Y seam pictures,
Yes,
which is
yes,
great.
and they're looking beautiful. I want to say real hello real quick to Therese Paulson and Sue Galvin, a couple people I know. It's good to see you guys and everyone else as well. So I'm excited to get to finish up the barn quilt.
Yes, I'm excited too. And then maybe you would send me a couple samples.
I could because now I have like 80 of them.
Yeah, see?
But I get to pick which colorways I'm keeping.
That's fine because I think I like them all, so I'm
Okay,
okay
good.
with that, so all right, so I don't have housekeeping slides, but just real quick, just wanna let everybody know, that first and foremost, we have a customer service line, so I wanna pop her info up there. We have a real life person named Nina who answers the phone, will respond to emails and all that good stuff, so if you have specific questions, you can well, if you have quilting questions and you're on the live, pop them in the comments and we can get
Yep.
Linda to answer them live and in person. If you have questions about your account or something like that, or questions after the fact, you can get a hold of us at our customer service line as well. And basically, that's it. This is the last part. We're doing facing today, and we're going to talk about the
Yes.
quilt label, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, I'm going to just
Let's
turn it over
bring
to
up
you.
my demo cam.
All right.
Okay, so this is a sample you're probably familiar with that we've shown a few times that Aubrey would like to have in her office. We'll just see
Yes.
if that
Yeah.
works out. And just to kind of give you an idea, a facing is not visible on the front at all. It's not like a quilt binding. Everybody knows what a quilt binding is. So this will be a facing. And it's a real modern take on finishing off the edges of your quilt. And I love it. And I'm going to give you some tips on how to do this and not cut off the tips of your flowers and your diamonds and all that stuff. So you have a really sharp looking edge when you're done. And on this side, it's a little hard to see. I matched my facing to my backing and it's only on the back. So let's get started on how to do that. I'll bring up my pink and green sample. Here she is. I've got the back attached to it and all quilted that we did last week. And now we're ready to get going. So the first thing you need to do before you put any of your corners on or any of your facing strips on is you need to take a water soluble thread and maybe a bobbin that's a dark contrasting color. So whatever will show up. Whatever you pick for your bobbin will not show when your quilt is finished. So don't be worried. This is obviously really dark. Don't be concerned about that. And water soluble thread will go in the bobbin. I'm sorry, it'll go in the needle of your regular sewing machine. And you'll obviously put the dark thread in your bobbin. And then on the right side, after your quilt is completely quilted, meaning I stitched in the ditch around all of my shapes, I stitched right on that block basting line or that tack down line. I stitched all along there with right side facing up with the water soluble thread. And on the back, this is what you'll see. You'll see a dark, maybe my light is too bright. There we go. You'll see a dark line right here. Aubrey, we need to tell them about our contest. We forgot.
We do. We do. Okay, so we are having a contest today, and there's a little bit of a mistake, okay? Everyone makes mistakes, right, Linda?
Well, I know I do.
So if you catch the mistake, and by the way, we're going to ask you what it is at the end, so no cheating. If you see the mistake as Linda goes along, type the word me, okay? And don't say what it is. Don't say what it is, but say me when you find it, when you catch something that looks a little off, right?
Just a little off. It's not a big deal. I decided I'm going to live with it, as I usually do with all my mistakes.
So this is the sample I'm going to get probably.
Oh, no. I don't know. I don't know. I really, I may have to spin a wheel or something to see
There
what
you
you
go.
get. So anyway, your first step before doing any facing is to stitch along this facing line with water soluble in the needle and a dark bobbin thread. And that way you will see dark stitching right here, which is really important because we're going to be doing pinning on the right side of the quilt, but we're going to be stitching on the back side of the quilt. Okay, that's step number one. Oh, they're already seeing it. I love it. If you tell sewers you made a mistake, they will find it.
You're not supposed to tell them.
Right. But we all do. So then the next thing we need to do is make our little corner triangles. And it's a little hard to see, but I have a corner triangle right here. And you will take your fabric that you're using for your facing. The directions say to do a 7-inch square, but basically on a quilt, you can do any size square you want. I mean, it's pretty easy. There's really no formula, but I chose 7 because we actually have a quilt label that I'll show you later, but it's actually hiding under here. There's a quilt label, and it fits really well on a 7-inch square fabric. So you'll take that 7-inch square fabric, press it in half on the diagonal, and that will get pinned to each corner. So we're going to pin this to each corner on the right side of the quilt. And then we flip it over and we stitch along that stitching line that we made previously when we used the water soluble thread and the dark bobbin. So we stitch right along there. And then I did reinforce the corner because we are going to be doing some trimming here later. So I did a second row. You can see I still have a thread there. A second stitching right here in the corner, maybe about 2 inches from each corner. So you'll do that to all 4 of your corners. Everybody got that? I see a whole bunch of me's.
So I think, Linda, that your
Yes, my dear.
mistake, I know what your mistake is. I think it's less obvious in this camera light.
Good.
Yeah.
It's not, I won't even say it. I'm not giving a hint. So you'll get all 4 of your corners done like this. And then the next step is you need to cut your facing strips. Your facing strips are going to be 2 1/4 inches wide, just like regular binding is. And you'll press it in half. And then you'll cut them, and I don't have my whole, well, here. You can see it here. You're going to cut them 4 inches shorter than your actual full size of your quilt. I got to get in the camera. Your full size of your quilt. So I've got the small quilt here, and you can eyeball this. This is not exact science. You just lay your strip up there and cut it shorter because we do not want that strip to go all the way to the corner. We don't want that strip to go all the way into that corner because we don't want that extra bulk there. So you'll pin that onto the right side, and then you'll flip it over. And at the sewing machine, you're going to stitch along that bobbin line that you put in earlier. We made it nice and dark so you could see it very easily. I'm just cracking up at all the me's.
I know. I wonder if they actually know, though. I don't know.
I don't know. So then the next step, after you do all 4 sides with this facing piece, then we're going to, and I'm going to do this one really quick because I want to turn a corner and I want to make sure that you guys can see it. So give me a second to pin it. Just eyeball center that. So that little line that we made when I stitched right here, I always go backwards from the camera. When I stitched right here, I made sure I didn't cut off my little points in my diamonds. Because when I stitch it from the back side, I want to be sure that I don't lose my points. So I would like to know if anybody has done a facing. Maybe you could tell us if you've done one in the comments because it's really very easy to do. I'm going to move my camera, Aubrey.
All right, while she's moving her camera, I just want to remind everyone I'm going to be live again tomorrow and Friday with Annie, and she's actually going to show you how to make a traditional log cabin block. Got a beautiful quilt to reveal tomorrow and show you. So make sure you're registered for that. In fact, Nina, if you don't mind dropping the registration link in the comments and we'll get you guys set up. And then it looks like someone said no, they have not done a facing and they're very interested.
Okay, could you bring my demo cam back up? I'm not sure I'm in the right place.
There you go.
And I'm upside down. Okay, there we go. That'll work. I know it's not the layout we want, but this will work. So all I'm going to do, I've got a walking foot on my machine and I've got white thread in my bobbin and my needle. And I'm just going to stitch right on that gray stitching line from my bobbin. I do a little bit of back stitch at the beginning and the end. And I'll check my points and they're perfect. So I'm ready to go ahead and do some trimming. So as much as I love our hoop scissors, this is a little thick for that. So I'm going to use my other heavier scissors to do this. And basically I'm going to cut across the tips of the corner pieces. And I'm going to do what's called a little bit of grading, where I'm going to trim one layer short and then the next layer a little bit longer, and so on. And then this is my final layer. So I'll do that in all of my corners. And the double stitching in the corner will be very helpful when I go to turn this so that I don't poke through the corner.
Linda, someone's asking if you're using a 1/4 inch seam.
Well, if you remember when we very first started, I told you to stitch along the basting line of your block. So I'm not using a 1/4 inch seam. I'm following the bobbin thread in the back. So it doesn't matter if it's a 1/4 inch, if it's 3/8 of an inch. I mean, I tried to trim it to a 1/4, but it's not going to be perfect 1/4 inch. Because remember, with Hoop Sisters, we are always stitching on the stitching line, not necessarily worrying about our cut edges being together. So I hope that makes sense. So that method of following that line on the back will prevent me from cutting off my points on the front. So now I've got this corner trimmed. So now I can go ahead and turn it. And I don't have a point turner handy, so I'm going to be very, very careful with the tip of my scissors and just poke that little point out right there. So that's what my corner will look like. And I will take this over to the iron and give it a really good pressing.
Voila. Okay.
And then go ahead.
I'm going to switch. Do you want me to switch to your other camera or just?
Actually, keep me on this one.
And someone asked if we could zoom in, so this might do it.
Okay, let's see. Let me get this turned. Of course, I'm not going to get my other mode I want.
Gotta love cameras.
Yeah, especially when they're not cooperating. So, all right. So after you press it and turn your corner, the next step is to do, I did a serpentine stitch. Maybe I'll show that. There's a serpentine stitch right there on just the layer of my facing and my seam allowance. So I'm doing a serpentine stitch right there. And I do it on the right side. So it actually will go like this. And it's holding down the actual seam allowance, which when I turn it over all the way and pin it, that serpentine stitch holds that seam allowance in place. This is called an understitching, which is kind of like a clothing thing. I did a lot of clothing years and years ago, and that's where the grading comes in and the understitching, but all of that will help you. And the understitching actually does go into, you probably can't see it. I'm going to draw it here. Use a little Fix-On pen just to show you. This is the serpentine stitch. Does that show up?
Yeah, I can see it.
Kind of a purple line there. A
Mhm.
serpentine stitch, and it's holding down the seam allowance onto the facing itself.
And the
And
cool
then
part is you're like, can you see it? Because you really can't see it unless someone points it out or you look
you
really, really
can't.
close.
Right. And then the last step is to hand stitch your facing down. And I know a lot of people don't like the hand stitch. I have a really fun customer who loves, I've taught this class in my store, this facing class, and she decided she would just top stitch all the way through the quilt. So that works for her, but I like to do hand stitching right here so you don't see it at all on the front. And the best part is because of that part where we stitched our water soluble in the needle and a dark color in the bobbin, all of my points to all of my petals and my diamonds are still intact. So that works out really, really well.
So, yes, I'm seeing okay, just to clear this up, great question. Yes, the facing takes the place of the binding. It's just a different way to finish it along the edge. So, isn't that cool?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
I should show that. Let me turn really quick I haven't trimmed this corner yet, but I'll turn the label. There's a quilt label in your files. I don't have a nice trim on this yet, but this is your quilt label. There's one for the rolling star as well as, goodness, I can't get into the camera. There we go. The rolling star as well as the meadow star. This one says rolling, then there's also meadow star. But this is done on the 7-inch square fabric. So that's a pretty little addition that you can put in the corner of your quilt, and you just use the 7-inch square fabric to do that.
I love it. It's so cool. And I saw a comment earlier that said, once you see it, you're like, you have an aha moment.
Yeah. And it's actually a little bit easier than a binding because you're not mitering the corners.
There
The
you go.
only hard part would be the hand sewing. But again, if you don't like to do the hand sewing or you can't, I don't see any reason why you couldn't hold that facing down with another little serpentine stitch because that tends to blend in with the quilt front.
Okay, Sandra, that's a good question too. So the facing process requires corners on the front. Well, they
Yes,
might
ma'am.
start there,
Hmm.
but then they flip.
They always start, you put your facing and your corners on the front, you sew it to the front, and then you flip it to the back.
So you won't see it on the front once it's finished.
You will not. It'll look just like this,
Mhm.
only pressed nicer.
Ellen says that she has not seen the mistake.
Ellen, you're my best friend.
We love you, Ellen.
We love you. Trust me, there's one there.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Let me
Someone
see.
said they might use a little fusible web to hold the facing in place. Yeah, if that's just going to be a wall hanging, you could definitely do that.
There you go. So
Hmm.
there's definitely people who have not seen the mistake. So that's good. And I really do think it's less noticeable on the camera with the light you have or something.
Yeah,
So,
it is. But trust me, in person, when I did it, I'm like, I sent a text to you and Annie and
yeah.
to all of you guys and went, what the heck was I thinking?
Oh,
Yes,
that's
Chris, you could use a little steam seam if you don't want to hand sew, especially again, like I said, it's if it's a wall hanging. Sometimes steam seam doesn't hold up permanently, but you could always put more in there.
maybe you should flip it over, show the back one more time.
Okay. Do you like my? Are we gonna? We're gonna tell them what the mistake is at the end, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Here's my back. Here's what an unpressed corner looks like because I just trimmed and flipped this one, and you'll notice that the facing part is now underneath the triangle, which is where we want it to be. Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to point out. You could make a sleeve for the back of your quilt. So I like to cut my sleeves 9 inches wide this way, and then a little bit shorter than the whole quilt. So maybe an inch or two shorter than the whole entire quilt. And usually when you put a sleeve on a quilt with a binding, you stick the sleeve underneath the binding. In this case, I did have to do the dreaded hand sew all the way across just to get it to work right. But then you just hem your ends, fold it in half, and whatever side you decide to lay it on after this is hand sewn down, you can hand sew this down and you'll get a nice finished sleeve that you can hang your quilt with. Eileen, you don't see it either.
There's a lot of people saying they don't see it.
La la
Yeah.
la la la. When we tell them, they're gonna go, oh, okay.
Mhm. They're gonna go, "It's not that big of a deal." Okay, I would like to show, and you guys keep asking questions if you have them, but before we draw the winner, I would like to show, and if you have something else, Linda, obviously you can take over. But I wanna show them where the guide is in Facebook so they can
Okay.
rewatch these videos. Is that
Yep.
okay?
Yep.
All right, let me share my screen. I'm gonna show you guys, in our VIP Facebook group, which is Hoop Sisters Quilt in the Hoop VIPs. If you go into this group, first of all, there's a featured section, and basically all the latest relevant stuff I have pinned up there. But also, there's this guides section right here. Hopefully, you can see my mouse wiggling around. And if you click there, our customer service line is there. But the second guide down is the Barn Quilt Collection. Now, this might move. So, like tomorrow, we're going to start something else. So you might have to scroll down a little bit, but there's the heartfelt half square guide is in here. So basically what this is a collection of all things that we have put in this group regarding the barn quilt. So we have session 1 and 2, and then we have session 3 in here, which is the video. And then we're going to pin this class in there as well. It also has any of the updates that we've had. And I think it even has our original workshop in there. It does. So it's a good place, a good resource in this VIP group if you want to rewatch any of the videos. Okay. So I just wanted to mention that so you knew where to find it. What happened?
Oh, I'm just seeing some funny posts. A Facebook user, I don't see it either, and was seriously thinking of cheating and just saying, "Oh yes, what a doozy mistake!" But my conscience got me. Yeah, because we might call you out and ask you to tell us what the mistake is.
And don't worry if you don't see it and you can't be in the contest. We're gonna do giveaways tomorrow and Friday too. So
And someone else said ask what the word is. The word is me, but please say it only if you know, because we might ask you what it is.
Because we're stinkers like that. Okay, so should we draw the winner and put them on the
Yeah,
spot and say, okay,
let's
what's the
do it.
mistake? All right, let's do it. All righty, let me share my screen again to get over there. This is funny. Okay, so 27 people said they saw the mistake. So let's see.
But there's like 135 watching that I can see. So
I know. Well, I think a lot of people couldn't see it, and then when we show it, they'll be like, "Okay, Joan, you're up."
are you watching, Joan? Say
Congratulations.
something if you are. Say
Yeah,
something.
say something. Let us know that you're there. Joan over on Facebook. She was at some point on here live.
Yep.
So I got to check too. Oh, well, her name would be in there.
Yeah.
So Joan, she's
There she
here.
is. Joan, Joan, hey, tell us what the mistake is, Joan. And you're going to win no matter if you caught it or not.
Yeah.
Right?
Let us know what mistake you picked up on, Joan.
She's probably like, oh no.
We'll
All
give
right,
her a minute to type.
we'll give her a minute. I'm going to turn this over and let everybody look at the back of my quilt.
Here, let me put you big. There you go.
There's the back of my quilt. Do you know what it is, Joan? I think the cover stitch on the right. Nope, that's not it, but you're still going to win.
But it's close.
It's
Kind.
close.
Yeah.
So the front of my quilt is this pretty pink and green. And last week when I was demoing the quilting, the edge-to-edge quilting, I just started doing it in blue. And so then I finished it in blue. And when I went to go put it on my pink and green quilt, I thought, what the heck? I wanted to do pink on here. So that was my mistake.
Well, hold it closer to the camera too, because it almost looks green. I think this is a tricky contest, but
Yeah.
there you can see it because
It's an aqua color, and that's
yeah.
the color I used on my other barn quilt. And I just grabbed it and started sewing, and I didn't want it to be blue. I wanted it to be this hot pink.
Hot pink would have been pretty.
But no, the bobbin thread was the same everywhere, Joan. But thanks for playing. You're still our winner.
You're still the winner. Okay, so Joan, in order, yeah, it does look kind of green.
It looks
I
green,
agree.
yeah. In person, it's definitely not.
And in the picture you sent me, it looked more true to color too. All right, Joan, email Nina, Nina @hoopsisters.com. Let her know that you were the store credit giveaway for today's live. And if you didn't win or couldn't even participate because you didn't pick up on it, that's okay. We have a live tomorrow at the same time, same place. Live Friday, same time, same place. We're going to be Friday giving away some awesome magnets. And tomorrow we're giving away store credit. So more store credit. So there's still chances to win. Don't worry.
Yeah. So next time, just put the word in, whether you know the answer or not. We usually don't have a quiz.
Well, you threatened to quiz them. So.
But I don't know. I guess people didn't notice it, but it could just be the color of the lighting. So
Yeah.
I'll stop pointing out my mistake like I've been doing.
That is the lesson of the day, because I feel like every single quilter does it. Like even if you post something in a picture in our VIP group, oh, except for this one spot where I did this silly thing and nobody knew it. And then everyone just looks right there and then you can't unsee it. So don't tell people, right? Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us for this sew along. It's been a lot of fun. I haven't seen Linda this much in a long time. We've been doing a lot of lives together.
You're going to miss me.
I know. We got to do something else soon, right?
Pretty soon. I'm working on my next project.
And I got a sneak peek of that earlier. So, yep. Okay. Well, thank you guys all for participating. Join us tomorrow for our log cabin workshop. I'll be live here with Annie here in Lima, and we got something really cool to show you.
Yep, I'm excited too.
All right.
Oh, that was tricky.
All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye, Linda.